Well, we're excited that you're going to be coming to join us on the coast of Maine very shortly and be visiting our beautiful bay and our property here. We have 200 acres, as you no doubt already have read, here on the coast of Maine, and we are 5 minutes from Acadia National Park at Schoodic Point. What we encourage you to do is to get out and enjoy our property in the locale and all the wonderful things going on. Tell you a little bit about our property. We have 200 acres here altogether, and we go a little bit further down the shore here, all the way out to the salt marsh, down towards the village of Korea, which is just down that way, and down to back to the other side of the bay, outside this shot. And then my wife and I have put this property together over since 1984, in lots of little pieces, and created a place where you can get out and experience all these different habitats. We chose the property because it has the ocean, rocky shore, sandy beach, dune system, a brackish water pond that's just behind the dunes there, meadows, forests, both deciduous and evergreen, and this wonderful salt marsh that floods completely on a king tide, and a pond at the head of the marsh. So in this relatively small space, right here on the coast of Maine, we have all this magnificent diversity of habitats and lots of different flora and fauna to enjoy and experience. We've put trails throughout the whole place so you can get out and experience all the wildlife, and we have a set of guides, we have 10 of them, that have all information about the trails and the wildlife on the property. So here's this one. This is about the Salamander Trail. This is a really nice, simple trail that goes off into the woods just behind one of our buildings, which you actually can see behind me, off into the woods, over a little stream where you might see salamanders, and back to the inn. It's a very nice, simple introduction to the woods and the flora and fauna that you'll find there. This guide tells you about what you'll find there. Then we have a very rigorous trail, the Heron Trail. And the Heron Trail guide shows you this trail that takes about 3 hours total. So don't go out on our trails at night or late in the evening, because you might end up sleeping at the salt marsh, as one of our guests did many years ago. I don't want that to happen to you. But head out on the same beginning of the Salamander Trail, and it goes all the way through the woods and out to the salt marsh, where you might see moose and herons and bald eagles and marsh hawks in this magnificent part, the coast of Maine. Also some pitcher plants. So this tells you about what you'll find along the trail. And then actually we have a guide with very detailed information about the salt marsh. And this is this one here. It tells you about, also you might often see bald eagles flying and feeding on top of the marsh, which is rather neat. Now, the only habitat we didn't really have when we first came to our place was a freshwater pond. And this guide is to the pond and the streams that now run through our property, because we had the beavers came along and very generously built us a 3-acre pond. So, and we have painted turtles and water snakes to see. And that's all about that in this guide here. Then we have a guide to the ocean, rocky shore, sand beach and dune. And this guide tells you about our about 12-foot tidal range that we have right here on the coast of Maine, and about zonation along the shore, and all the different things you'll find in the rock pools, which is rather fun if you have kids traveling with you, or anybody who likes to go out and explore. And then really detailed information about all those creatures, the periwinkles, the sea stars, the sea urchins, and all the wonderful things you find in these rock pools along the shore here. Then we have a guide to the sand beach, and even information about the little creatures that live between the sand grains. So if you're into nature and you just want to explore on our 200-acre property, it's a wonderful way to see the place. Then for the essay part of the exam, based on all the material that you sit at the end of your stay, I'm only kidding, don't worry about the exam, but we have the sea stars, sea urchins and sea cucumbers, and we have the crabs, lobsters, barnacles, the crustaceans. Now all these guides have little bits of poetry and prose on the back of the guide, so should you get stressed about the test, you can sit down and read the poetry and prose on the back of the guide. For example, this is written by Louise Dickinson Rich, who actually lived in our house, which is just here at the head of the bay. And she wrote, "Lobsters are very strange creatures indeed, both in their appearance and their activities, and I find them interesting as well as succulent." So hopefully you'll find that when you visit us. So, beyond these guides, we have a guide to our peninsula. So we are here at the head of Sand Cove, and if you were to just turn out of our driveways of the inn and head down to the village of Korea, you'll end up at a place where it's one of the most beautiful working harbours on the coast of Maine, and a place where you can get lobsters straight out of the ocean sitting on a dock, fresh lobster rolls, fresh whole lobsters, and blueberry pie and ice cream. Our guests love doing that. There's also a wonderful place called Chapter 2, has a collection of local artisans' work. And I recommend coming and supporting all our local artisans. This place is very different than Bar Harbor, where you might buy the trinkets from Taiwan and be involved in all the major crazy crowds. You've got real artisans that live on this peninsula and produce fine work, and it's available in many different places around our peninsula. If you were to go out of the driveway and turn right, in fact, you'll come up to a flagpole, and on the left-hand side there will be US bells, and that's a bell foundry that makes the most wonderful bronze bells, and you can see them pouring the bronze and making the bells. Up to Route 1, turn right, there's a winery, Bartlett's Maine Estate Winery. That's a winery that makes wines with other fruit other than grape. Blueberry, pear, loganberry. You can see all the wines and see the winery. Taste all the wines and see the winery. Coming back down this way, you can head up to Upper West Bay Pond, where you can see moose and loons and otters and osprey. Take a canoe or kayak up the pond, and you can get your canoe, kayak, or bicycle from Seascape Kayaking Bicycle in Winter Harbour, which is just by the entrance to this 5,000 acre section of Acadia National Park at Schoodic Point, which is a wonderful place just 5 minutes away from us. They also have canoes padlocked to trees around Jones Pond, which is a lovely crystal clear lake, which you can swim out to a little island or paddle out to a little island and have a picnic with the family all to yourselves. Coming down this way, there's the Gouldsborough Historical Society Museum, has lots of interesting historical information about the local area. Coming down this side of the peninsula, there's many potters. There's the Maine Kiln Works, there's Stave Island Pottery, there's a glass blower. There's a wonderful fellow who makes smoked salmon, smoked mussels, organically raised. Down into Winter Harbour is our booming metropolis. There's at least, 500 people live there, big town. And you'll find many artisans, Wenderley who paints, a wonderful art gallery. There is several artist cooperatives. There's a Five and Dime and a couple of little restaurants. There's Garish's, which is wonderful for lunch. There's lobster rolls to be had at the corner of Fisherman's Wharf. There's Chase's Restaurant. There's a little bistro that's popped up there. You have to go and discover all these things and see what you find. There's a golf course where you can play 9 holes of golf at Grindstone Neck. They have left and right-handed clubs, so you don't have to bring them with you. There's magnificent views from the point. You can see several lighthouses and across to Acadia National Park at Schoodic and across the water to MDI as well. Now most of our guests come here because they want to visit Acadia, and we're on its doorstep. So you can get out to this magnificent place, as I say, 5 minutes away, and we have a guide specifically to Acadia National Park at Schoodic Point, and this is it. And this is a map of that peninsula. And you can drive around the 12-mile loop that goes all the way around the ocean, which is magnificent to cycle around on one of those bicycles you can get from Schoodic. And as you go round here, there's a couple of magnificent spots. Raven's Nest, there's magnificent cliffs and views out to Mount Desert Island. And then many, many miles of trails and bicycle ways. One of my favorites is the Anvil Trail that takes you up to a place called Schoodic Head. And from Schoodic Head, you can see 4 lighthouses: Prospect Harbour Light, Petite Manaan Light, Mark Island Light, and Egg Rock Light. There's also an interpretive centre at the point, and a magnificent trail called the Sundew Trail. Very simple, nice, easy trail, not rigorous as the Anvil Trail is. You can also cross to Little Moose Island 2 hours before and 2 hours after low tide, and take a picnic perhaps on a little path out and sit on the rocks in a place all to yourselves. Just be aware at both of these places the waves come rolling in, and sometimes they can really sweep people off the rocks as they have done in the past, so don't get caught out by getting too close to the shore. Now this guide has all this information on it about all the trails, so don't worry about remembering everything, as does our guide to the peninsula, which also has not only this map of the peninsula and telling you about the things going on, it has 14 different days of things spelt out for you to enjoy while you're visiting. So I really recommend everyone in the party to read this guide, and I'll give you a couple of very hot tips. One of them is obviously to go and visit the 3,500 acre bird sanctuary, the Petite Manaan Wildlife Refuge, which is described in day 5, and the Hollingsworth Trail, which is magnificent with annotated signs that tell you about the wildlife, brings you down to a beautiful white sandy beach where you can have a picnic with the family and back to the car park. Also, there's the Grand Manaan Wildlife Refuge. There's a day trip up to Roosevelt's summer home at Campobello Island. And of course you can take the little ferry that goes from Winter Harbour to Bar Harbour in about 30 minutes and delivers you into the hubbub of the crazy crowds, and then up maybe to the top of Cadillac on the free National Park buses that are available from the village square on 6 different routes. So don't take your car over, that's the best way to go, and you can visit all that section of Acadia. Then you can visit the 3rd section of Acadia on Isle Ho using a combination of ferries and buses as well. So as I say, most importantly, I'm going to send this to you in writing too, but there's 14 different days. Look at these different day plans out so you know what to bring. A couple of other things to mention. If you haven't done already, I recommend that you book a tour maybe with Robertson Sea Tours out of Millbridge, Maine, and they take you on a real Maine lobster boat. You'll pull lobster traps, and you may often see seals and porpoises and many lighthouses. So that's something to be much enjoyed. A couple of things: make sure you book ahead for Robertson Sea Tours and any of the other boat tours that are available locally. They tend to book up before you get here, so get onto that. When you're driving up here, we're looking forward to seeing you, but don't perhaps arrive here late on the peninsula having not had your supper or have food with you. There are some super dining opportunities dotted around on this peninsula, but they tend to close early. So what you want to do is perhaps have your supper maybe in Ellsworth on your way in if you don't plan to make it yourself on your arrival. So we're certainly looking forward to seeing you. I just wanted to give you a brief introduction to our area and things, and know all these guides and resources are here for you to really get the maximum amount of your stay. And we hope you have a wonderful stay when you get here and have a safe travel to us. Thank you so much. We'll look forward to seeing you on the coast of Maine.